Welcome back. The defund the police movement isn't going as planned for some left-leaning cities. Case in point, Portland City Commissioner Joanne Hardesty. She reportedly called 911 after getting to an argument with her Lyft driver. Hardesty is the leading advocate for the defund the police movement in her state of Oregon. Meanwhile, in Minneapolis, they're beginning to experience a shortage of police after a recent budget cut there. The city's police chief says it's struggling due to the 20% increase in violence. In addition to these budget cuts, it's now looking for assistance from other nearby police departments. So taxpayers outside of Minneapolis are going to have to foot the bill for this. In Los Angeles, they're preparing to dissolve one group of the sexual assault unit at the robbery homicide division, and this is due to budget cuts. This is the unit that was responsible for investigating disgraced movie producer Harvey Weinstein and adult film star Ron Jeremy, who is facing sexual assault charges. Let's welcome in now host of Sovereign Nation right here on Newsmax TV, Michelle Malkin. Great to see you as always, Michelle.
Thank you, John.
All right, so, I hate to say that we told you so, but we knew this was going to happen. And Portland City Commissioner Joanne Hardesty calling 911 after getting in a dispute with her Lyft driver because she didn't want to have him roll the windows down as a COVID precaution. So the cops, didn't show up for her because this wasn't a big deal. But what happens when somebody does need the police for something more important than getting in a spat with your Lyft driver?
I don't know why any law-abiding citizen who cherishes peace and prosperity is still in Portland at this point, John. And there certainly is a very rich sense of reaping and sowing. In this case, Hardesty, who is a Black Lives Matter and outright communist sympathizer, led the charge to slash $18 million from the police budget just last week. And here we are. I mean, she counsels everybody else not to call the police for petty conflicts. And the first thing that she does is call the cops on a driver who's simply following the rules imposed on him. And so, once again, we've got this classic illustration of how the left, and particularly the far left, never abides by the rules that it imposes on everybody else.
Yeah. And then, of course, we can talk about the situation in Minneapolis, which is really sad for the residents there having to deal with this. We've seen a group of advocates, begging the city to return the funding to the police. So we saw the crime reduction up 20%. And again, this is an I told you so moment. These politicians should have known this, but they don't care because they're more interested in their own agendas.
Yeah, that's right. And they will never have to suffer the consequences of their own actions and their own terrible, toxic policies, which really raises the question of why the voters and taxpayers in these Democrat-run hellholes aren't defunding the city councils that are making them miserable and destroying their cities in the first place.
Yes, cancel the Portland City Council. That is something we can get behind. I also want to talk about the new lockdown orders we're hearing about. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo ordering all bars and restaurants to close at 10 p.m. starting Friday. In Ohio, Republican Governor Mike DeWine also considering a statewide shutdown as numbers surge there. He just expanded the state's mask mandate as well. And then take a listen to what Joe Biden's top COVID advisor, Michael Osterholm, is suggesting.
We could pay for a package right now to cover all of the wages, lost wages for individual workers, for losses to small companies, to medium-sized companies, for cities, states, county governments. We could do all of that. If we did that, then we could lock down for 4 to 6 weeks. And if we did that, we could drive the numbers down.
Michelle, I'm not 100% certain about this, but I'd be willing to bet $20 right now that guy has not talked to a small business owner or a real middle American who's actually fighting for survival in this economy right now. Otherwise, he wouldn't be making those types of suggestions.
Yeah, you're so right, John. And it is an extension of what we just talked about, elites who never have to suffer the consequences of their own terrible policies. If you are a parent right now and you have had children who have suffered since spring break, essentially, at the toll that it's taking, not just financially on these small businesses, but psychologically, mentally, emotionally. These people are sadistic control freaks. And unfortunately, that control freak mentality does transcend parties. Here you have Mike DeWine, who is a Republican governor, who yesterday had an appalling press conference. It really should be played in full across the country so people can see unmasked what the real agenda is here. He's talking about banning dancing at weddings. this is what we're left with now. And 4 to 6 weeks, sure. How long ago was it? They just told us that it was going to be 15 days to flatten the curve.
Yeah, 15 days to flatten the curve. Now it's 4 to 6 weeks. And, you know, don't worry, the government's got you. We can afford it, right, Michelle? We're not $27 million in debt. $1 trillion, I should say.
Well, you know, when you got those printers printing money just nonstop, I guess that's the solution to everything. But you know what? We're not talking about widgets here. We're talking about human beings, and the wreck and devastation, not only in this country, but across the world, really is becoming, I think, much more apparent to people. I don't know if you saw the video of the old elderly couple hug. There was a hugging.
Yeah, I did. I saw you post it.
Yeah. Right?
One of those hugging screens.
Yeah.
I think the other thing too, Michelle, for someone like you and someone like me, you know, you hear what's happening in New York City where people are being told what they can and cannot do in their private residence. I haven't really read every detail of the order, but whether you live in an apartment or a big house, you can only have 10 people over. A friend of the program, Joe Borelli, a Republican councilman, New York City councilman, you know, he just tweeted out that his son's school has been closed with 0 cases of COVID for kids, 0 cases of COVID for teacher. This is what we're seeing. You don't have to have the actual virus spreading through the area. It's about power, isn't it?
It absolutely is. This is not about COVID. It's not about a virus. It's not about public health. It's about control. And the massive expansion of that control with so little resistance is what's really alarming. This is a nationwide test. It's not an IQ test. It's more of a personality and culture test. And unfortunately, across the country, too many people have failed. There have been rising grassroots revolts against this, but more than ever, especially as this lockdown, it becomes more draconian and feels more inevitable than ever. I think it behooves people who care about the livelihoods of their businesses and the sanity of their children to rise up and raise hell.
And again, I'm reminded of the words of that federal judge in Pennsylvania who threw out the lockdown order there, in the words of Ben Franklin, that those who give up their freedom for security deserve neither.
Yes, that's right. And there's nothing more essential, and the phrase is essential liberty, than our ability to be human beings, be in contact with each other, live healthy lives, and pursue our happiness. This is no way to do it.
Yeah. And I know so many parents right now that are so concerned about the schools getting locked down because they saw what it did to their kids. I mean, think about a first grader held out of school, not able to read. I mean, we're going to set these kids back for years if we keep them out of school again. Michelle, great to see you as always.
You bet. Take care, John.
Newsmax TV is now America's fastest growing cable news channel. We give you the real news you need. So subscribe to our YouTube channel and give us a thumbs up. If you like this video, share it with your friends. Newsmax TV streams live on YouTube for free. Newsmax TV, real news for real people.